It's Monday, December 28. This is the news on PBCJ. I'm Carol Francis. Institutional reforms implemented by the Jamaican government has positioned the island to mitigate the economic fallout resulted from the COVID-19 pandemic. That's according to the Inter-American Development Bank, IDB, in its 2020 quarterly report. The IDB noted that the reforms enabled Jamaica to build up substantial cash buffers, equivalent to approximately 4% of GDP, and a large reprogrammable primary fiscal surplus prior to the onset of COVID-19. The IDB also pointed to the island's flexible foreign exchange rate and fiscal responsibility framework as additional positives. One weakness highlighted by the IDB is the country's heavy reliance on tourism, which creates vulnerability to external shocks such as the pandemic. The IDB said pivotal pillars of the institutional reform agenda, in which the government has been proactively engaged, encompasses prioritizing key areas such as education, health, infrastructure, and institutions of economic policy. The COVID-19 pandemic has underscored the importance of investing in stronger national and global systems to prevent, detect, and respond to infectious disease outbreaks in order to save lives, protect health, and safeguard economies and society at large. That's the message from the World Health Organization's Director General to mark the first International Day for Epidemic Preparedness.
The impacts of the pandemic go far beyond the disease itself, with far-reaching consequences for societies and economies. But none of this should come as a surprise. Over the years, there have been many reports, reviews, and recommendations all saying the same thing. The world is not prepared for a pandemic. We must all learn the lessons the pandemic is teaching us. First, all countries must invest in preparedness capacities to prevent, detect, and mitigate emergencies of all kinds, whether they be natural occurring epidemics or deliberate events. Strong primary health care is especially important at the foundation of universal health coverage and at the eyes and ears of every health system.
The Director General stressed the importance of emergency preparedness, primary health, universal health coverage, and taking a One Health approach.
True preparedness is not just a job of the health sector. It requires an all-of-government and all-of-society approach. And third, the pandemic has highlighted the intimate links between the health of humans, animals, and planet, which we can only address with a One Health approach. Any efforts to improve human health are doomed unless they address the critical interface between humans and animals and the existential threat of climate change that's making our Earth less habitable. History tells us that this will not be the last pandemic, and epidemics are a fact of life. But with investments in public health, supported by an all-of-government, all-of-society, One Health approach, we can ensure that our children and their children inherit a safer, more resilient, and more sustainable world.
Time now to look at the latest COVID-19 status. Here is a summary from the Health and Wellness Ministry.
3 deaths related to COVID-19 were reported on Sunday, December 27. They are an 81-year-old male from St. James, an 87-year-old male from Kingston and St. Andrew, and an 89-year-old male from St. Anne. The overall death toll is now 298. 9 new COVID-19 cases were also reported over the last 24 hours, bringing the overall case count to 12,732. There are now 2,115 active cases. 7 cases were recorded in Kingston and St. Andrew, and there were 2 cases in St. Mary. In the meantime, 142 recoveries were reported, pushing that total to 10,161. 83 persons are now in hospital, 9 are showing moderate symptoms, and 8 are critical. For the news on PBCJ, I'm Gabrielle Thompson.
Prime Minister Andrew Holness used his holiday message to thank healthcare workers and other frontline workers who have given yeoman service in the fight against the COVID-19 pandemic.
I want to personally, on behalf of the government and people of Jamaica, say a special thank you to everyone in the healthcare system and our frontline workers. You have risen to the occasion during this pandemic. You have been heroes as you work to keep Jamaicans healthy and safe during COVID-19. You have worked hard and even risked your lives daily. Christmas is a time of togetherness and good cheer. And so I send you best wishes. Whether you are on the job or with family, know that we give you our full support. So as we gather in this new normal, some virtually, I remind you to observe all protocols while physically apart, yet together. I send you good cheer. Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
There is a strong link between water, energy, and agriculture. According to Agriculture Minister Floyd Green, the plan for sustainable agriculture includes the drive for irrigation systems operated by the National Irrigation Commission Limited to be run by solar technology. A number of other methods are also being used to ensure Jamaica has a productive, sustainable agriculture sector, contributing to the island's food security. More from Marlon Samuels.
Agriculture is one of the single largest employer in Jamaica. According to the World Bank Collection of Development Indicators, December 2020, almost 16% of Jamaicans are employed in the agricultural sector. However, some large and small-scale farmers in rural areas face high production costs. This is due in part to the high cost and unreliable access to water and electricity. The Ministry of Agriculture is harnessing the potential of solar-powered irrigation systems to reduce production costs and improve access to water and electricity for large and small-scale farmers. The strategy adopted is solar-powered irrigation systems. In January 2020, it installed the first large-scale solar-powered system at the Bengal Pump Station in Chilani. It has contributed to rural electrification and reduced energy costs for irrigation. Agriculture Minister Floyd Green says the solar-powered system has resulted in millions of dollars in savings. It already resulted in improved access to water for farmers, lower production costs, and increased agricultural productivity. According to Mr. Green, the goal of the ministry is to have all pumping stations powered by solar energy. Even as farmers across the island embrace solar power for increased access to and reduced electricity costs, they have also embraced new ways to manage and conserve water. Traditional irrigation systems that feature spray heads or rotors have proven to be wasteful. As a result, more and more farmers are using the irrigation management approach called drip irrigation. Often referred to as targeted or precise watering, drip irrigation is a method of delivering water slowly, at low pressure, at or near the roots of plants. The Agriculture Minister has also instructed his ministry to place greater emphasis on developing small water projects to improve access to water by farmers. For the news on PBCJ, I am Marlon Samuels.
A new nature adventure park has opened in Sandy Bay, Lucy. The park was built at a cost of over $2 million by Chukka Caribbean Adventures. At the official opening of the adventure park in Sandy Bay, Lucy, Minister of Tourism Edmund Bartlett commended Chukka Caribbean Adventures for what he described as, quote, a facility that will enable the very health-conscious, social distance-conscious visitor to be happy to enjoy the experiences being offered, end quote. The 160-acre property offers secluded dining areas and several open-air nature activities. Described as the only seaside nature adventure park in Jamaica, visitors can enjoy a spacious onboard lifestyle cruising the Hanover seacoast aboard a catamaran. They can also engage in a one-of-a-kind adventure by combining trails and then waves as they ride along the beach, then into the sea on horseback for what has been described as an amazing experience. They can also take in panoramic underwater views, diving and snorkeling. Chukka Caribbean Adventure operates over 60 tours in Jamaica, Belize, and the Turks and Caicos Islands. The project was undertaken by Chukka Caribbean Adventures, working in collaboration with the Tourism Product Development Company, TPDCO, Jamaica Tourist Board, the Hanover Municipal Corporation, and the National Environment and Planning Agency, NEPA. The first annual Sharpe Day in memory and celebration of national hero Samuel Sharpe was observed on Sunday, December 27. Historians point to December 27, 1831 as the day the Emancipation War of 1831-1832 began under his leadership. The plan called for enslaved people to refuse to work after the Christmas break unless they were paid. The proclamation of December 27 as Samuel Sharpe Day was made by Governor General Sir Patrick Allen at the request of the Cabinet. It is in keeping with the policy of the Ministry of Culture, Gender, Entertainment and Sport to promote the knowledge and memory of those who have contributed to the development of Jamaica. Our sister station, the Jamaica Information Service, has this report on Samuel Sharpe.
Think on this. How would you feel if Sunday is your regular rest day off from work, but just because Christmas Day falls on that day, your boss unilaterally decides you do not deserve an extra day of rest? Added to that, the previous Christmas you were entitled to 3 days off during the season, but months before this particular holiday, a law was passed giving only 2 days. This is the kind of injustice and ill treatment that was meted out to Samuel Sharpe. Up to 1830, the enslaved were allowed 3 days holiday at Christmas. In February 1831, the House of Assembly passed a law reducing Christmas holidays from 3 to 2, Christmas and Boxing Day only. Since Christmas Day 1831 fell on Sunday, a rest day, Sharpe believed that they were entitled to the following Tuesday. A strike ensued. The resistance to work ballooned into what history records as the Christmas Rebellion, the ill-fated event that helped pave the way to freedom. Born about 1780, Sam Sharpe was the slave of an English lawyer in Montego Bay, St. James. Sharpe was a lay deacon of the Birchell Baptist Church and became a leader in the congregation. Samuel, Sam, Daddy Sharpe, saw the injustices of slavery and inspired his fellow brothers and sisters to participate in Jamaica's first strike action. There were no labor laws at that time that spoke to the rights or privileges of slaves. Sharpe may be considered a forerunner to the labor movement as he fought for the rights of his fellow workers. For this, Samuel Sharpe was hanged on May 23, 1832. But as he said,
"I would rather die upon yonder gallows than live in slavery."
In 1834, the Abolition Bill was passed by the British Parliament, and in 1838, slavery was abolished.
The Jamaican cult classic movie, The Harder They Come, has recently been given another accolade. The movie has been ranked 36th by the website gizmostory.com as being among the 50 best movie soundtracks. The Harder They Come is the story of a young man, played by reggae star Jimmy Cliff, forced into a life of crime after opportunities to make an honest living are snatched from him in Kingston. He is conned, beaten up, and robbed. After embarking on a life of crime, he becomes wanted by the police, but also a folk hero. The website noted that the reggae soundtrack for The Harder They Come gives, quote, the perfect Jamaican vibe and gives reggae a new face, end quote. Global oil prices rose on Monday, buoyed by the signing of a COVID-19 relief bill by U.S. President Donald Trump, as well as a vaccination drive in Europe. Gabriel Thompson gives us this and other key details in this quick business report.
In Thursday's trading session, the JSE Combined Index advanced by 4,607 points to close at under 400,000 units. Overall market activity resulted from trading in 83 stocks, of which 36 advanced, 30 declined, and 17 traded firm. The Junior Market Index advanced by 27 points to close at under 3,000 units. Stocks advanced for Access Financial Services Limited, Barita Investments Limited, and Caribbean Cement Company. Stocks declined for 138 Student Living Jamaica, 1834 Investments Limited, and Caribbean Assurance Brokers Limited. Trading firm were 138 Student Living Variable Preference, Blue Power Group Limited, and Caribbean Flavors and Fragrances Limited. Sagicor Real Estate X Fund Limited was the volume leader with over 6 million units, followed by Trans Jamaican Highway Limited with 4.2 million units, and Wigton Wind Farm Limited ordinary shares with 2.7 million units. Now for the foreign exchange. The US dollar on Thursday, December 24, ended trading at $143.29. The Canadian dollar sold for an average $111.67. The pound sterling traded for $190.30, and the euro ended trading at $177.74. Oil rose to hit $52 a barrel on Monday as U.S. President Donald Trump's signing of a coronavirus aid package and the start of a European vaccination campaign outweighed concern about weak near-term demand. Oil has recovered from historic lows hit this year as the emerging pandemic hammered demand, but remains vulnerable to any further setbacks in efforts to control the virus. Brent crude futures rose 45 cents to $51.74 a barrel. West Texas Intermediate crude futures added 44 cents to $48.67 a barrel. And that does it for this edition of the Business Report on PBCJ. I'm Gabrielle Thompson.
In regional news, the Venezuelan government has released an official statement on the drowning deaths of 20 of their nationals on December 6, 2020. The findings indicate that the vessel, My Memory, was designed to carry 8 persons but was loaded with 41 people. The Venezuelan government has also cleared up the misconception that Trinidad and Tobago authorities were to blame for the incident. Terry Ann Brown Campbell reports.
According to the statement issued by Venezuela's Minister of People's Power for Internal Relations, Justice and Peace, Carmen Teresa Melendez Rivas, the ship identified as Mi Recuerdo, My Memory, was wrecked in the Gulf of Paria on December 6th, approximately 11 nautical miles from the departure point, located in the El Recon sector, Guerrilla Sucre state. The main cause of the wreck was the overloading of the fiberglass rock-type boat, which, having a capacity for 8 people and a maximum weight of 2 tons, carried 41 people and a weight of approximately 4 tons. Additionally, the passengers did not have life jackets or the necessary safety equipment for navigation. Coupled with the prevailing bad weather in the area at the time of the accident, which caused a swell of 2 to 3 meters. The findings also indicated that the vessel left an illegal place covertly at night with the intention of evading the maritime controls established by the security agencies of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela. Venezuela's government has also rejected what it describes as political manipulation of extremist sectors that have used the image and memory of the deceased in an attempt to destabilize the country, as well as the relationship between the governments of Venezuela and Trinidad and Tobago. Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley recently accused Venezuela and the local opposition of politicizing the drownings. He said his government had done all that it could for Venezuela when 16,000 Venezuelans were allowed to live and work in this country through the 2019 registration exercise. On Christmas Day, National Security Minister Stuart Young again warned that transporting migrants was illegal and qualified as human trafficking. Terry Ann Brown Campbell, TTT News.
Consumers in Trinidad and Tobago can expect to pay more for eggs, chicken, pork, and other meats, as there has been little or no feed for farmers to give their livestock. Major feed suppliers have reportedly not received timely shipments of soybean and corn from the United States to produce the feedstock. Terry Ann Brown Campbell has been following the story.
Several small farmers who spoke with TTT News, Master Mix is the preferred supplier, and if they cannot get that product, then they prefer to use the Nutrimix brand. Master Mix's general manager Hamad Mahabir confirmed that the company had reduced its production over a 3-week period because of the lack of grain supplies. He noted that this is an occurrence that happens from time to time, but added that things are returning to normal. Although Mahabir said the grain shipments have been received, he explained that it will take a little while for feedstock depots across Trinidad and Tobago to receive their supply. Nutrimix also confirmed the shortage, but said their farmers were receiving a supply at the expense of a supply to the depots. Farmer Sharaz Khan said the shortage goes beyond soybean and corn.
At this present point in time, we have a number of farmers all over the country, from Point Fortin to Arima to Mayaro to Rio Claro, are suffering severe lack of feed. And this is not happening as of recent. It's happening more than 2 to 3 weeks now. People with all kind of animals are suffering because they cannot get the necessary feed to give their animals to continue their production.
Agriculture Minister Clarence Rambarat said there is an issue in the U.S. that has been resolved. In the interim, he added, local poultry producers with stock shared their feedstock with other suppliers who were out of stock. But Mr. Khan said he was hoping that the issue will be addressed urgently, as even a few days without enough feed would have dire consequences.
Which means our animals that we rear would not be putting on the necessary weight that we want them to put on the market. Our milk production in cows and the goats and so on, like we do goat milk and cow's milk, our milk production are dropping because we can't get the necessary ingredients. Because for 1 month until last week, I got a couple bags of saffron.
Mr. Khan said if the situation is not addressed urgently, farmers may be forced to butcher their chickens, pigs, goats, cows, and other livestock rather than see them starve. Terry Ann Brown Campbell, TTT News.
In sports, we bowl off with cricket. Former West Indies wicketkeeper Jackie Hendricks is making his support for head coach Phil Simmons known. This despite the Caribbean side's recent whitewash on the tour of New Zealand. The West Indies were trounced by an inning in both tests in Hamilton and Wellington. Both matches finished before lunch on the respective fourth days. The preceding 3-match 2020 series was likewise catastrophic for the West Indies. New Zealand had a 2-0 series win. After being sacked by the previous Dave Cameron-led CII administration in 2016, Simmons returned for a second stint last year. He has won just 2 of 6 tests, 7 of 12 one-day internationals, and 5 of 12 2020 internationals. And that's our package. Join us again tomorrow, same time, same place, for more news and sports right here on PBCJ, the People's Station.